Erica, will you do the pledge for us?
No problem. Sure.
Thank
Okay, President Tolan, whenever you're ready, I have 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Elvia. Call the meeting to order tonight at 7 p.m. For the audience tonight, I'm the president and serve as presiding officer for tonight's meeting. Before we move forward, I would like to announce that in response to executive orders issued by Governor Newsom, the city is conducting a teleconference public meeting utilizing Zoom video communications. This allows the city to continue to conduct essential business and comply with public health administration recommendations to protect the public and city employees, practice social distancing, and limit exposure by not allowing in-person public meetings. To ensure that the public will be able to participate, public comments can be submitted as live comments during the Zoom meeting and via email at publiccomments@cityofglendora.org. Madam Clerk, would you please conduct the roll call?
Yes, thank you, President Tolan. At this time, I would like to conduct an oral roll call and request that each trustee respond with present when their name is called. Trustee Blum,
Present.
Trustee Flowers,
Present.
Trustee Landman,
Present.
Vice President Chu,
Present.
and President Tolan.
Present.
All trustees are present. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to reorder or add to any of the agenda items tonight? No? Okay. So we'll open the public comment period. Members of the community are invited to address the Board of Library Trustees on items listed on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, speaking once, both on and off agenda items. This is your time to speak uninterrupted. Please address your comments to me, the presiding officer. Public comments is limited to 30 minutes. If you would like to request to speak, select the raise hand icon in Zoom before the close of the public comment period. You will then be called upon when your turn is up to speak. Elvia, have any public comments been received?
At this time, President Tolan, we've received no requests via the attendees of the Zoom meeting or through the public comment email.
Thank you. So we'll close the public comment period. Thank you. Board statement and reports. Does any trustee have any reports or announcements to make tonight?
I have a report. I went to the Friends Foundation quarterly meeting earlier this month. I did unfortunately have to leave halfway through the meeting, so I was not able to see everything that they talked about, but they did announce the date for the night on the plaza, so save the date for July 16th, Saturday at 6 p.m. And then also they're preparing for this year's Great Trivia Challenge, which is happening later this week on March 3rd. But that's it for me.
That's great.
President Tolan, Stephen Flowers speaking. I wanted to announce that Director Stone and Trustee Blum and myself did attend the meeting of the Glendora Coordinating Council February the 14th, Valentine's Day. And we did have an opportunity to announce the library's upcoming events to include the 50th anniversary at 140. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It was well attended. So thank you guys for announcing that. Are there any other statements or reports? No? Okay, then we'll move on. Director and attorney statements. Director Stone, would you please report?
Good evening. It would be my pleasure. It's good to see you all. I just want to start out by saying thank you to all of the trustees and especially to President Tolan and Trustee Landman for their all their work on the ribbon cutting event today on the plaza. It was lovely and quite a success. Great sense of community. Great kickoff to the next few months of things that are celebrating the 50th anniversary at this location and all the other things that the library stands for. So cheers about all of that. Also, just a thank you to the Friends Foundation for the grant funding that helped make that event possible. And Brianna's also already mentioned a couple of these things, but I do want to confirm that the foundation has its own anniversary. The Great Trivia Challenge that is this Thursday is number 30. So they have their own anniversary cooking. If you want information about this live online team competition, you can go to GPLFF, as in Glendora Public Library Friends Foundation, so gplff.org for the details. So join in. And I also got the inside scoop. Not only is Night on the Plaza scheduled for July 16th, but they are expecting a theme reveal next week. So watch for social media. They will be letting us know what the theme of the big fundraiser on the plaza is going to be. So all great fun the next couple of weeks there. Let's see here. Another thing to mark your calendars for is March 22nd. We are planning, if all goes as expected, for the City Council to have a proclamation for National Library Week, which is actually the very first week of April this year. And so to get the proclamation in ahead of time, based on the council schedule, that will be March 22nd at their regular meeting. Thank you to President Tolan for agreeing to be there to receive it, and to Sonia Jones in the city manager's office for being the excellent coordinator she already is. Along the lines of other things on the calendar, we have been looking for dates to have an all-day staff development day. And one of the things that's been delaying that is we have been trying to coordinate with an outside trainer that we really wanted to come. They are willing to come in person. We just may not be able to match schedules. So it looks like we're going to have to separate out that training session and our staff development day and proceed with the staff development day either at the end of March or beginning of April, and do this other live training on its own separate from that. So stay tuned. We will let you know when we're planning to close the library and do some excellent training and team building activities for the staff. Speaking of the staff, happy to announce the results of one of our librarian recruits. Longtime employee, senior library technician Jenny Reyes was successful in the recruit and will be starting as our full-time professional librarian 1 on March 7th. So we're delighted about that. And as we work out how to, fill duties when people move up in the agency, library technician Rochelle White will be temporarily assigned senior library technician duties starting that same day. So we are delighted to have them both with us and increasing the ways that they are serving the community. It's great. Let's see here. We are seeing some changes to story time. And so I want to turn it over just briefly to Library Services Manager Cindy Romero to tell you a little bit about what's going on with story time these days. Cindy?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Janet. So yes, we, based on the current guidelines for the COVID guidelines and health and safety guidelines, we have recommended that story time return to the Friends Room. I'll get that in the right order. Part of the reasoning for this was so that we could have it on 2 different days. What we've noticed is having story time on one day at 2 different times meant people that were busy on Wednesdays could not attend story time. So being able to offer it on 2 different times means families are able to come and engage with the stories or learn early literacy skills on 2 different days and accommodate more families so that more children are able to do that. So starting tomorrow, Friends Room will be hosting story time again for many of the regularly scheduled story times. So it'll be Tuesday and Wednesday at 9:30. And then we still will have some of our special story time. Sometimes we'll take it outside. Sometimes we'll go up into Bidwell. We'll just kind of see if it's 85 degrees like it was this afternoon. It's probably going to stay inside because the children don't really always like to be out in the sun. Actually, they do. It's their parents that probably don't, from a parent. So we'll be looking at some other things just to make it special here and there, but yes, we will be starting story time twice a week starting tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Let's see. So each year on our fiscal year workflow, we talk about updating you regarding the city's and the foundation's budget processes. And we didn't put anything written into the packet because the city released its calendar of expected process the day after we submitted our materials for the packet. So I will do that a little update for you verbally there. Just a reminder that that this is a 2-year budget and we are in what's called the mid-cycle in between the 2 years. And this process is based on the assumption of what they call budgeting by exception. So, so the idea is that the work that was done last year is hoped that this coming year will be a less burdensome process for year 2 out of that 2-year cycle. And that also that we will only be making adjustments if changes have occurred or will occur significantly to the budget as it was proposed originally. So we are in the mid-cycle, and just a kind of an overview of the process that's going to be happening, off behind the scenes, so to speak. Mostly in March, we will be just checking on our personnel distributions, our base adjustments, which means if there are any just corrections that need to be made, and then also if there are any new requests that we want to make. That's happening in the month of March. In the month of April, then the meetings begin. The departments meet with finance, the departments meet regarding the capital improvement program or the facilities projects. The departments review with the city manager as needed, and that sort of thing in April. And then in May, they expect that the online budget book will be available to council. And also, I just checked with the city manager, and he's happy to come to the May board and commission meetings and provide an update and just a picture about where we are and that sort of thing. So we can expect that in May. And then in June, there's the public meetings and the hoped for adoption of the budget by council. So that's sort of how it rolls out. We prepare our numbers. We have the meetings with the city, the department does. Then the budget is published online, and we meet about them with the boards and commissions, and then finally it goes to council. So each month sort of has its own theme, so to speak. So that's what's happening with the city budget. And again, they sent that calendar out the day after we put in our stuff for the packet. So thank you for bearing with me for a verbal update for that. And then in terms of the foundation, we understand that they are hoping to get us the grant guidelines by next week. And then they are hoping to do the grant review meeting the second week of April. So that's the week of April 11th. And generally the way we handle that is to have 1 or 2 board representatives there. And I usually touch base with the president about how to work that out. So those are the 2 processes that will be running kind of in parallel in the next few months. And finally, regarding the statistics summary that you see, we are working, as we did with the full statistics sheet, we are working on revamping all of this. It's going to go in several phases. This one has not been significantly revamped in terms of format because we needed to get all the new numbers from that really detailed statistics sheet to fill in and populate this summary for you and get that all working again. So we just wanted to make sure we had a working summary for you. So that's what's in the packet. And just as many of the trends were things that we talked about last month when we went into our mid-year assessment of so many things, including the statistics. So I don't need to go through all those trends again. I just will mention a few things. Generally, overall use is still less, of course, than before we closed the main floor in March of 2020, but it is also overall increasing as we go. Among those things, highlights would be internet users and signups. That's seeing a steady uptick. We are about 50% of where we were at pre-closure levels at this point, and that seems to be kind of a theme that we seem to be hitting that 50% mark in a few different places. Wi-Fi use is increasing from a low over the holidays, and that's another theme we've been seeing is that there was a dip from several statistics during the holidays, and we're seeing them climb back up out of that. And that statistic actually is returning closer to pre-closure levels, the Wi-Fi use. Self-check usage is also back to pre-closure levels. Total items loaned is not back up to pre-COVID use, but that was one of the ones that increased from our low around the holidays and is like 102% increase over July through January last fiscal year. And then library visitors is seeing an increase from our numbers from around the holidays again, and is about 50% compared with our pre-COVID numbers. So we're kind of seeing some patterns there. And I want to thank management analyst Elke Kethel for pulling out some of those highlights that are behind the summary that you were presented in the packet. So those are kind of the late breaking things that were not available to us when we put in the report that is in your packet and is available online for the public. I am happy to answer any questions or have staff do that if they are more expert than I. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Stone. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Item number
Could
two.
I mention just one thing? Lots of good news here, but the best of all news is the new hires and heaven's sake recruitments. I think it's time to get out the kazoos and celebrate. I have not seen this kind of recruitment, and it's just, it warms the heart. So hopefully all these folks will make it through, be hired, and it will be a wonderful day for the library when they are all welcomed to be part of our staff. It's great. It was just great to see.
Well said, Doris. I just have one comment. Please thank Gaetano. I'm referring to our package page number 8, how he's reaching out to Shepherd's Pantry and Tri-Community Adult School. So the folks there have access to literacy and job seeking resources. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, so please tell him thank you for that. That's great to see. Okay, anyone else?
I'm not, maybe Cindy, I don't know if you have plans to go over this later in the meeting for the Glendora Historical Corps, the historical walking tour. If you're not going to go over it, I think we should draw our attention to it because it's a pretty cool concept. And maybe if you guys can show us a demo, if you don't already plan on doing that, that'd be great.
Janet, up to,
So yes, I am happy to have Cindy tell you a little bit about that. Absolutely. It might be best to save that. I can turn it back over to her when we get to the item about the 50th at 140 South. As far as a demo goes, since we would have to go online for that, we can make a note to be sure to arrange that with the city clerk's office for the next meeting and do it that way.
Sounds good. Thank
That
you.
work? Okay. So Cindy, help me remember when we get to that item.
But
Thank
for
you,
the
ma'am.
moment, we'll note it in the minutes as staff direction to include that in the next library board's meeting agenda.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Madam President, Stephen Flowers, I just want to say appreciation for Director Stone's strong leadership, and also to compliment Doris Blum that we have an opportunity now with so many great new staff being onboarded that the future of the library looks extraordinary. So thank you, Director Stone.
Thank you. It's of course, recruitment is a team effort, and I have to say, human resources, as you can imagine, during COVID has been taking on a whole new universe of stuff, and so we really appreciate the ongoing support and just chipping away at this with us. So thank you, everyone.
Okay. If there are no other comments, we'll move on to item 3. Connect, Learn, Develop Annual Trustee Training and Conference Opportunities. Director Stone, would you please give your report?
Absolutely. So there are occasionally opportunities that are specifically designed for what are often known as support groups for the library, which is largely the trustee agencies, and then the friends and foundation groups. And we try at least annually, if not more often, to make you aware of these opportunities that are specifically designed for bodies like yours. So this year there is, if we could have the next slide, please. The Serving with the Purpose conference is upcoming. And again, in between packet time, and so their website got pretty fully fleshed out. So if we could go ahead and go to their website, Elvia, that would be lovely. We prepared the attachment for your packet and then discovered that this had been populated. So Elvia, if you would please scroll down, there's a big chunk of this conference. There we go, the big yellow one. So if you, after the meeting would care, this link is in your board packet. You can go to the website to take a look at this in more depth. But I just wanted to point out that they have fleshed out what their plans are for this conference. The theme is Representation Matters, Building a Better Board. I just wanted to pull out a couple of things from this page. First of all, it comments that millennials are more likely to have visited a public library in the past year than any other adult demographic. So, so that's kind of one of the underlying pieces of statistic that are powering this particular conference theme. And if you go through the elements that the conference will cover, it talks about everything from understanding generational differences from everybody from baby boomers all the way through to post millennials. And then also includes what they call tried and true methods for successful onboarding of volunteers. So there's a lot of richness here in terms of how to incorporate and welcome different generations into support groups like the trustees and friends and foundation groups. So I wanted to point all of this out because it's a little bit richer than the information that we had when we prepared the attachment that's in your packet. So this is a great place to go back to, and you can always get in touch with Gabby in the administration office, and we can arrange for you to attend should you so choose. I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
Did you say how many of us are allowed to attend?
for training, I think for training, you are allowed, all the board members would be allowed to go. We would ask, that you use your discretion and not be seated at a table together and that sort of thing, not be in groups that represent a quorum, and not discuss library business other than as it would be to workshop in the training. I think that's a fair representation. Madam Deputy City Clerk, do you have any other instructions?
No, aside from that, that's very well said. Sometimes in these breakout sessions, they will talk about, current things that are happening. I would use all the discretion to, not say anything specific, not use any specific terminology related to library and Glendora Library during that training. But yes, that's very well said.
Thank you for asking that. It would be great if we had a lot of you interested in attending. So we want to encourage that.
What was the date again, and where is it located?
Yeah, if we could go back, that would be wonderful. Thank you. So May 19th, it's full day. And I believe it is going to be at the Ontario Convention Center.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Holiday Inn Ontario Airport Convention Center.
Thank you.
You.
Are there any other comments? We'll move on.
I have a question referring to when these opportunities arise, not this one in particular, but in future. Funding for them, do we submit a receipt for reimbursement to attend an event, or do we just indicate that we wish to attend an event and arrangements are made?
For an event like this, usually the way it works is we would register you. So if you get in touch with administration, you can do that through me or directly through Gabby. We can handle that registration for you. There are other opportunities that may not be specific to trustees or foundation, and you're welcome to express interest in that sort of thing. And we can talk about funding and exactly the best ways to get you signed up for those. So some ways it's a case by case thing. In this particular instance, you can get in touch with us and we can make sure that you get registered.
Outstanding. Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to special items. Right, sorry, the consent calendar. The Library Board of Trustees minutes, the events calendar, and the standard fiscal year workflow. Does anyone wish to comment on items 4 through 6?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
A second.
Thank you. That is a motion by Trustee Blum, a second by Trustee Landman. I'll take a roll call vote. Trustee Blum,
Aye.
Trustee Landman,
Aye.
Trustee Flowers,
Aye.
Vice President Chu,
Aye.
and President Toland.
Aye.
And that passes 5-0. Thank you.
Item number 7, board agenda items. Discussion of the 50th anniversary of the current facility for the Glendora Public Library, as requested by Landman and Chu. Director Stone, would you please give us your report?
Absolutely. Still floating on a great installment of this from this afternoon, the 50th anniversary of the current building. Next slide, please. So just our usual reminders about why it is that we are celebrating. In addition, just to the human need to acknowledge milestones, there are some things that we are hoping to get out of these anniversary celebrations. So that includes the community getting reintroduced to the brick and mortar library as a hub for information, entertainment, and connection. The community seeing the library building as one component of a service package. The community learning about library projects to capture, preserve, and share the community's own resources of local history. Next slide, please. The community reconnecting with community members, fellow volunteers, and staff that have enriched the world of ideas over the last half century. And finally, that the community will gain a greater understanding of the role of the library building, its challenges and its needs, and the ways they can help shape its future. Next slide, please. So also as a review, there are several different things that are shaping our approach to this over these months that we will be pursuing this celebration. Compliance with the Brown Act, guidance from library management and administration, demands on the city's media specialists who were thankfully there today, full force, yay. The roles of official and unofficial messaging and outlets of information, and always keeping in mind that we really want to directly contribute to those goals that we just talked through. Next slide, please. Okay, always grateful to the Friends Foundation for the grant funding that provided the budget you see before you. We have gotten word from them in the preceding months that they are okay with us checking in and redistributing these among the different projects if as needed. But overall, the total amount you see before you is serving us well so far. And we'll talk about the history in your pocket, the walking tour in just a moment. But so far, we don't anticipate any additional cost for that. And we thought we might have to ask for another grant for that. So next slide, please. So this is just an update to the flow chart, so to speak, the different aspects of these celebrations over the next coming months. We have some celebratory events, one of which happened today with what I consider to be great success. Thank you again, Tomoko and Erica. And then also coming is the movie in the park on July 8th. We can hear more from the trustees about that, I'm sure. Also a commemorative art project that's being pursued by the trustees. And then the library staff teams are looking at informational programming, the decorating and sort of branding the staff for the next few months, and also the local history project that was mentioned as kind of one of the big goals. And so I will take this moment to divert and have Cindy address a question from earlier in the meeting. Cindy.
Thank you. So yes, the library staff located a new resource for us called theclio.com. And so it's THECLIO.com. And it also has a web-based interface and an app-based interface where we can basically input entries from all of the local historical buildings in Glendora. Once we have loaded all of those entries, we will link them together into a walking tour. So the entries right now have will have a basic introduction, then more detailed information, and then it has a map with, of course, the directions to get there, has areas for pictures, and also has other areas for links. So to start with, we are taking the historic walking tour that is a pamphlet version of Glendora and starting to load all of those sites into the app, into the website. Once we get that and we create the tour, we'll be looking to enhance that information beyond what is in the pamphlet walking tour with additional research, with other data from our vertical files, from perhaps the Historical Society's files. We'll also be looking to upload videos or audio content, possibly asking the community to remember things that happened at the library and recording audio content that can then be loaded to the app. recording local histories, maybe somebody in front of the LaFetra Center talking about their time spent there and some oral histories, asking the community for different photographs. So there's going to be a lot of layers built into this as we go, but it will all be built into a walking tour that can be followed around. It's got, the app itself has a great little AR that will help kind of give you directions if you're, walking around, it'll point you, turn here, oops, nope, you're off course, kind of go back that way, to be able to find things. So that's kind of exciting. We're really excited about this. Staff has started to load in the Glendora entries. None of it's up yet. They're busily getting everything in now, so that hopefully within the next couple of months, we will have an unveiling of the updated version of the historic walking tour, and then layers to come, more phases. The staff also talked about possibly doing either urban legends or haunted Glendora that can debut around Halloween with some of that information. So they're looking to engage the community in some of the just wealth of history that's here. And so we will be working, of course, with our partners around the city to get some of that information and the community. And it doesn't cost us anything. The CLEO is a nonprofit itself that is happy to have libraries participate and add information to their site. So any questions? I'm here.
Excellent. Thank you, Cindy. I also made this broad generalization. So there are no, additional costs, of course. This, staff expertise, that is a big investment the city makes. So there is some of that going into this. There are costs to developing something like this, but it's nice that the platform is not going to be charging for access to the actual mechanism that makes this possible. I just want to say, this is an aside, I am so proud of the staff. There's this leap you take from this idea of sort of marking a milestone and making something out of the milestone. And then it's another leap to bring the community in to help make something even bigger, right? And to fill, to create something that fills a need that wasn't there. The need was there, but the resource wasn't there in Glendora before. So the walking tour is a great resource, and to make it mobile, that you can take it with you, and to make it a growing and living thing is really, I just am so pleased. I just am so proud of the staff. I just had to take a moment and say that, because it's just it's a multi-dimensional approach to marking an anniversary. And I'm really, really excited about what it could mean for years going forward as we add to it and create a richness of information that's accessible to anyone, anywhere, not just somebody with the pamphlet in their hand. And that pamphlet is a great resource. So it's a wonderful thing to begin as a foundation for this. Anyway, thank you for indulging me that. I just wanted to give a little shout out to the staff for their ways of thinking through this. And next slide, please. So as usual, what we are just recommending tonight is that there may be reports also from President Tolan, Trustee Landman, Trustee Flowers, and find out what other task forces are doing regarding this 50th anniversary of the building. Continue the discussion as you so choose, and if there may be direction to either the trustees, volunteers, or staff as needed. So those are our recommendations for the evening. And again, available to answer questions as you proceed through the rest of this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like me to begin, President Toland?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just a reminder, the movie in the park night is July 8th. So looking very forward to that. The In-N-Out truck is hopefully going to be there, and everything will work out perfect. And then Back to the Future DeLorean time machines going to be there in the movie, and a lot of different community groups will be there, volunteering their time and assistance, like with corralling people into lines and everything. We're expecting quite a crowd. So it's the kickoff, not only for the movies in the park, but it's just a continuation of the library's 50th birthday year anniversary at 140 South location. So that's that. So a little recap on that. And I think Janet, did the design go in yet for the community directory?
Oh, the activity guide?
Yes, activity guide.
We're still working on it.
Okay, cool. I couldn't remember the deadline. I didn't remember if it was in March or April we had to get it to them by.
And any other staff, anything I'm missing? Just checking in with Cindy and Elke and Gabby about that. Okay,
cool. And all right, so this is what's been going on. Today, President Tolan, Director Stone, Cindy, Elke, Gabby, that was an amazing event. And thank you so much for everything that you did to make that take place. And I think that was huge, and it really kicked off the celebration. So it was nice, and it was really awesome. Okay, so here's information about the art project. So I met with I had a phone conference with the teacher from Charter Oak. I met with the art teacher from St. Lucy's, and I'm still trying to get in contact with the Glendora High School art teacher. She's out for this year, but I'll still be able to get in touch with her. She's available through email. And Director Stone suggested as a theme, because all this, well, the two school sites, Charter Oak and St. Lucy's, they were asking what type of theme were we considering. And Director Stone came up with the idea of Visions of 2072. And so it's how the students would visualize what's going on in the world, in Glendora, at the library, everywhere, in 2072. And the suggestion from Charter Oak and St. Lucy's was to have a date in the middle of November for the unveiling of the students' artwork. And let's see, still working on determining the length of time the display would be there, and wanted to go over the location. So the teachers, they'll determine the best location in the library, but ultimately they were the St. Lucy's teacher mentioned that the wall with the clock on it and the trustee board photos, that's the best lit wall, and that may be possibly the best location. So then all the students' work would be displayed, with that common theme, with the same type of materials utilized. The St. Lucie teacher was suggesting it could be done on wood panel, or it could be done on canvas, but it just depends on what the students are most comfortable with using, and depends on the school site. There was also mention, the St. Lucy's teacher was interested with the, oh my goodness, Janet, Director Stone, what was the acoustic tiles up near the top inner section of the main room. So I don't know what you call it, but there's like quite a few acoustic tiles that could possibly be where artwork could be displayed from, or it could go all on one pillar, the one pillar with the orange metal artwork. Or she even had suggested if the school sites all wanted their own area, it could possibly go over on the wall with the clock with the trustee photos on that wall, the pillar with the orange metal artwork, and also the pillar with the new book arrivals shelf. There would be have to be some shuffling of the location for where everything would be pushed to, but that there are some options right there. I think that's about it. But we're just thinking of having like a little gallery opening type thing sometime in November, and it would be kind of the one of the, it wouldn't be near the end of the celebration of the 50th, the 50 at 140 celebration. So there you go. I don't know if I have left anything out, but
Oh, that sounds great, and a lot of work.
yeah, that will be fun. The students, this was the other thing. The students would be working on it at their school sites. And because the teachers said it would be better because they would be there in order to offer any assistance the students may need if anything came up.
Great. That's a great community collaboration. It'll be exciting to unveil. Yeah, thank you.
President Tolan, Stephen Flowers.
Yes.
I wanted to, well, first say that I cannot contribute to or add to Erica's excellent report, but I can thank her very much with an expression of gratitude that we have for the time and deep thought and effort she's put into the library's 50th anniversary and her work here on the trustee board. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
But I also want to remind the board, in the vein of Director Stone and the excellent work that Cindy Romero is doing, archiving history and being connected with history, that the Glendora Public Library is so imbued with the community and the community's history. And we're continuing that as part of our celebration. That's extraordinary. As I recall, the Historical Society, which was formed 75 years ago, it exists because the Glendora Public Library called for the pioneers to come together and said, you should probably form a group and share your history. That was 1946. The Historical Society was formed in 1947. Hazel Domer was a librarian who called for that meeting. So I'm very pleased personally to see all the ways we're still connected. So thank you, Cindy, and thank you, Janet, for your excitement.
Much of the credit really goes to the staff. I just get to be the lucky one that reports on some of it.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
If I could just add that we've had in the works for quite a while a library app that began long before we started planning the 50th anniversary of the building, but is winding up its final sort of production phase, and should be a great sort of next release that goes right along with the celebrations that got kicked off today. It is in fact so far along that they are starting to beta test it. And we've had one round of feedback. If the Board of Library Trustees would like to participate, just contact Gabby, and we can get you hooked up with the correct form and email and stuff so that you can get on the list to be the next round of beta testing for that. So although the app was not unveiled today, I think it's a great next phase of as we roll forward into the next months of celebration. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you. Okay. So Erica, I'll leave it up to you. The next time you have it in your schedule that we can meet together to pick up movies in the park and tie up some of those ends.
Yeah.
So we'll just wait for your email after you've had a chance to take a look at your schedule.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have anything that they want to comment on item number 7? Well, I'll just say it was great to see everybody in person today. It was very nice seeing all of your faces today. So, thank you. Okay, so could we please move on to item number 8? Unfinished business. I don't think we have any unfinished business. So we'll move on to new business. Report on status of policy review process. Director Stone, would you please give your report?
Absolutely, thank you very much. Next slide, please. So the library board has general policy and operational oversight over the library, just in very broad strokes. And part of that is that we routinely bring policies to the library board for their review and any sort of feedback they might have. They come with recommendations from the expertise of staff, but the library board does offer their guidance and their extra eyes for that, as it says, general policy and operational oversight. So there have been some impacts on this policy review routine since 2020. The two major ones have been, of course, COVID, and the other has been our staffing levels. So as we are, on the upswing from both of those challenges, we have started looking again in more earnest at how to start back up with that policy review process with you. There are 4 policies most immediately in the pipeline, and that's what we are reviewing for you here this evening. Next slide, please. So I just want to reassure you that although it's been a little while since you have had policies brought before you, there are no reviews of our policies that predate 2016. So we are actually in really pretty good shape in terms of the whole body of policies. And also, since it feels like a lifetime ago, I'll just point out that most recently, through 2018 and 2019, the board did actually go through 8 of our policies in those 2 years. So there has been actually a lot of pretty recent activity on the scale of things. Next slide, please. So this is just a reminder and description of some of the things that the staff takes into consideration when we look at our policies and decide which ones to bring before you, and as we create our recommendations on what to bring to you as we present those policies. So among them are operational, managerial, and administrative issues. These are things that have arisen since the last time the policy was looked at that we know probably could use a little help from the policy. We look at best practices in our field and often at other fields. We do what I call market comparisons. So this is just what customers are experiencing in other libraries and what their expectations might be based on what they are seeing in the field elsewhere. what their experience is like and what their expectations would be. We also look at local, regional, and global environments, including things like pandemics. We look at the fundamental accuracy, just the factual accuracy of the policies as they get, a year or two old. And finally, and not least, we look at city, legal, human resources, and risk management concerns, and try to make sure that we are addressing those kind of much larger, high altitude issues under which our policies fall. Next slide, please. So this is the first of the 4 that we have in the pipeline for you. And I just wanted to review each of them and explain a little bit about where they are and so what you can expect to see coming in the next few months as we take the steps that we're about to describe to you. So the first of these is the collection development policy. Basically, this is how we select the public content of the library. That's what collection development is about. This was last reviewed and approved in 2018. What this addresses is the content of the collection, its quality, the budget that we have, how we use the budget, space considerations, the principles of selection that we use, the impact of intellectual freedom, those kinds of things. The collection development policy covers a lot of dimensions. So what we are doing right now is we are assessing some of the language that's in there on inclusivity of both sort of viewpoints and of formats. And we are also checking the guiding documents that frame our local policy and also the statistics that go into the policy. And all of that is currently under review by library staff. So as we work through those elements, this one is one that you will see come before you again. Next slide, please. So the next one, also in the pipeline, is the volunteer policy. This one was last reviewed and approved in 2017. This one addresses the structure and the purpose of volunteer opportunities here at the Glendora Public Library. What we are looking at right now is addressing several things: the ages of volunteers, the fingerprinting and backgrounding of volunteers, various verifications, training of the volunteers, clarifying the relationship with the Friends Foundation, and that sort of thing. The other thing that's happening here is that the volunteer policy is subject, this is one that really is subject to some city-wide efforts. Not everybody has a collection development policy, but a lot of places have volunteers in the city. And so there is this interest in kind of taking a look at this globally. So that's one of the reasons that this is pending. And we did, in the meantime, as an interim measure, while all of that citywide consideration is brewing, we did what I call an interim factual update. So we just went through and made sure that it was factually correct. We've made those updates. Those have been approved by city attorney and risk management, and we are awaiting word from human resources. And so we'll be able to bring some interim changes to you soon, before we get into this big sort of global look at volunteers citywide. Next slide, please. Okay, the third of the policies that we're looking at is the appropriate library behavior policy. This one was last looked at in 2016. What this one does is it helps ensure a conducive atmosphere for our customers. It allows staff to work. It also protects the library against loss or damage, that kind of thing. So again, this one's kind of multidimensional. We did have a proposed revision in 2019 that we passed along for some usual city feedback, and it raised some terminology and enforceability concerns. So we are now, what we're doing is going to seek out some best practices that we can take back into that legal discussion and see if we can, make the policy do what it needs to in terms of the terminology and its enforceability, if that makes sense. So that's where this one is pending. Next slide, please. And finally, at least for this evening, the fourth one that is closest to being on your plates is the internet policy. This one we had last brought before you in 2019. And as you would guess, it addresses the public internet use through the library. Now, in 2017, we were looking at a really multi-dimensional overhaul of this, pending the availability of information systems, otherwise known as IT, cities IT, because we need their help to do a really deep overhaul of this policy. That is because the policy actually needs to address the internet in several ways. It is a pipeline. There's also the question of the content that people get from it. And then there's the question of the computer equipment that is used. And whether or not all of those things wind up in one policy, or actually they really ought to be separate policies, is among the things that we really need to sort of hammer out with the help of IT. So as we need to wait until they are ready to address that with us at a deeper level. In the meantime, kind of like one of the other policies I mentioned, we are able to go through periodically and just make sure that there are no like outdated elements, like none of it's just kind of factually wrong. And we have done that with you recently in 2017 and 2019. We have actually done this again already. We have an interim revision drafted, and the things that we pegged on that one are correcting some things about that have to do with the current usage of the systems, some outdated terminology, some things about data retention and parental responsibilities. Again, it's kind of an interim thing until we can do this really deep dive that requires this other city department. So that interim update is awaiting an assessment of the Wi-Fi terms of service, which, as you can imagine, is kind of parallel to the one about using the internet on the city's own equipment. There's some overlap there if you're using the internet through your own device, but it's city provided pipeline. So we have to sort all of that out. So we are looking at the Wi-Fi terms of service before we bring this sort of interim revision to you. Next slide, please. So because it's been a couple of years since we've been able to bring some policies before you, I just wanted to assure you that it's on our radar and explain a little bit about what it takes for the staff to go through a policy before we bring it to you and ask for your feedback and your guidance on it, that oversight from the very first slide. And those are the four, like I said, that we've identified places where we have ideas of what to come to you about, so that you can help us get that updated and get it on the books and make those usable tools for the staff and clear communication tools for the public. So tonight, all we're really asking is that you receive and file this report. Of course, as the next slide says, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about all of that.
Does anyone have any questions? If not, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you. That was a motion by Trustee Chu, and I believe a second by Trustee Blum. I'll take a roll call vote to receive and file the report. Trustee Blum,
aye.
Trustee Landman,
Aye.
Trustee Flowers.
Aye.
Vice President Chu
Aye.
and President Toland.
Aye.
That passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay. Does the board or staff have any closing comments tonight? Okay, then I'm happy to adjourn this meeting tonight at 8:03 p.m. Thank you.
Night.